Stop talking too much, because every word that leaves your mouth consumes energy. Every time you try to explain yourself to someone who doesn't want to understand you, you drain yourself. Every plan you reveal before it's time loses power. Every emotion you pour out without filter makes you more vulnerable. According to Stoicism, silence is one of the greatest forms of wisdom, strength, and purpose a human being can cultivate. This video is a call for those who feel lost amidst too much noise. For those who feel they talk too much, promise too much, justify too much, and in the end, feel empty, drained, and misunderstood. Today, you'll understand why strategic silence is one of the most powerful practices in Stoicism, and how it can transform your mind, body, and soul. The first thing silence protects is your energy. Every time you speak, you emit a frequency. You open yourself up. And when that speech is unnecessary, you expose yourself to dispersion. The Stoic knows that not every opinion needs to be voiced. Not every plan needs to be shared. Not every thought needs to be expressed. The wise carefully choose their words, and often choose silence instead. The second thing silence protects is your mind. When you talk too much, your mind becomes agitated. You lose focus, reinforce useless thoughts, trigger unnecessary memories. But when you remain silent, you train your brain to focus on what matters. You create space for intuition to speak. You listen better. You see better. You think with greater clarity. A quiet mind is a strong mind. Write in the comments now. I choose the silence that strengthens me. And if this message is already bringing you clarity like this video, share it with someone who talks too much without realizing it. And subscribe now to the channel Motivation You Need. Here, every word is intentional. Every silence is respected. And every video is an invitation to return to your center. Silence also protects your emotional health, because when you speak without thinking, you regret it. When you speak impulsively, you hurt. When you explain yourself too much, you weaken your own authority, and all of that generates guilt, exhaustion, and confusion. But silence gives you time to breathe, to observe, to choose. Silence is not absence. It is elevated presence. It is mastery. It is emotional intelligence. And this directly impacts your body. A body agitated by constant speech lives in a state of tension, shallow breathing, rapid heartbeat, lack of rest. But when you practice silence, your body shifts to another rhythm. You slow down, you regain energy, you align with the present. And spiritually, silence is the language of God. It's where the soul expresses itself. It's where wisdom manifests. The ancient masters, the great sages, the prophets, all cultivated silence as a spiritual discipline, because they knew the truth doesn't shout, it whispers. And only those who silence themselves can truly hear. Stoicism teaches us not to waste words on what doesn't build us up, that we should observe more than we speak, that we should act more than we promise, and that true power lies in mastering ourselves, not others. The one who wisely remains silent speaks louder than 1,000 shouting voices. In the next part, you'll understand how to apply Stoic silence in everyday life, in conversations, in decisions, in moments of anger, in times of crisis, and also along your personal growth journey. Let's dive together into this invisible power that is already within your reach. Motivation. You need where your awareness expands and your soul finds direction. You don't need to announce your evolution, just evolve. Stoic silence teaches that true growth doesn't need to be displayed. It shows itself in your gaze, your posture, your energy. When you speak less, you observe more. When you stay quiet, you see what others can't. And in that silence lies true self-mastery. Applying silence in daily life is a practice. Start by observing your impulses. How many times do you interrupt someone just to prove you're right? How often do you find yourself over-explaining, trying to justify choices that only you need to understand? How often do you share dreams still in progress, just to receive validation? The first practical exercise is breathe before you respond. Don't react on impulse. Breathe and listen to what's behind the other person's words. Sometimes it's not your opinion that's missing, it's your presence. Most people just want to be heard. They don't need advice. they need space. The second exercise, protect your projects with silence. Everything being built inside you is still a seed, and seeds need darkness to grow. Don't share everything you're dreaming of with everyone. Wait, build, become, and then let the results speak for themselves. The third, don't explain yourself to those who don't want to understand. That's a waste of energy. Those who respect you won't demand explanations. Those who truly love you will feel your truth. You don't need to convince anyone of anything. You only need to be consistent with what you believe. Excessive speech weakens authority. A true leader speaks less, but each word carries weight. A wise person listens more than they speak. An awakened soul observes more than it reacts. And that's what makes such people magnetic, respected, strong. You don't need a loud voice. You need solid presence. And presence is built in silence. For mental health, intentional silence brings countless benefits. It reduces anxiety, balances your thoughts, calms a hyperactive mind, and gives you back control over yourself. Because when you talk too much, you get lost in your own noise. But when you go silent, you begin to hear what truly matters. Your body is also grateful. Silence slows the heart rate, lowers cortisol, improves sleep quality, reduces muscle tension, stabilizes your breathing. All of this because the body responds to the mind. And a quiet mind creates a balanced body. Talking less is caring more. And spiritually, silence brings you closer to the sacred. True prayer is born in silence. Faith strengthens in silence. The connection with God deepens when you stop talking about Him and start listening to what He's saying inside of you. And He does speak. He always has. You just weren't listening. Write in the comments, "My silence carries purpose." This is your declaration of strength, of mastery, of awareness. And if this video brought you clarity, share it with someone who needs to learn how to stop talking and start truly living. Like the video now and subscribe to the channel Motivation You Need. Here, every word is chosen, and every silence is sacred. Avoid wasting energy on pointless debates. Avoid explaining yourself just to please. Avoid constantly talking about plans that haven't been lived yet. Because the world doesn't need to know everything you think. It needs to see what you build with your thoughts. And that only happens in the silence of action. When you begin to value silence, you also start to perceive people and situations more clearly. Words often blur the truth, but in the stillness, you see intentions for what they are. Silence sharpens your intuition, helping you sense energy, detect dishonesty, and recognize opportunities that would otherwise pass unnoticed. It turns you into an observer, someone who reads between the lines of life. This habit of mindful silence also empowers your relationships. When you are present and listen deeply, you create space for true connection. People feel respected, heard, and understood, and that builds stronger bonds. Instead of reacting with haste or speaking just to fill a void, you offer your presence as a gift. And this simple act transforms the dynamic of any conversation. Another essential aspect is that silence preserves your creative energy. Every idea needs nurturing before it is exposed. When you keep your visions private, they grow stronger. You avoid the noise of opinions that can derail your focus. Your goals mature in peace, and when the time comes to share, they are ready to stand firm, not shaken by external doubts. Lastly, cultivating silence teaches you patience. In a world obsessed with immediacy, the ability to wait, to pause, and to hold space is rare and powerful. Silence becomes your training ground for resilience, for self-control, and for developing an inner calm that sustains you no matter what storms you face. It is through this discipline that true strength is forged. Stop talking too much, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. Because spiritual maturity begins when you understand that your worth isn't in what you say, but in who you become. Motivation. You need where your awareness expands and your soul finds direction.